Cool. So absolutely delighted to be here on the next episode of Retail Media Roundtable, where we're going to be talking about how to build an omnichannel retail media network from scratch. Absolutely delighted to be joined today by Daniel Sands, EMEA Sales Director at Zitcha, and Jamie Kristow, who's the CEO of Cotswold Outdoor. Hi, gents. How are you doing?
All good, Jason. Thanks for having us.
Cool. So let's get straight into it. So, Jamie, what have you most enjoyed about the Retail Media Impact Summit so far? Are there any particular sessions or speakers that you that have stood out for you, or that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, I mean, I think the context that Daniel gave earlier in terms of the sort of the state of the the state of the world and the macro environment, super interesting, and I think. Then sort of Drew sort of talked about his journey at Walmart and how he's sort of brought that to life over the last number of years. So I think that's super interesting. And I think we had a really engaging session with the Zitcha team. And I think the more conversations you have about retail media, the more it makes you think from a different angle. And I think that's been really interesting, just talking from different people, both from a retailer perspective and from a brand perspective around how they're seeing retail media and how retail media is going to evolve. So yeah, just the opportunity to have lots of conversations has provoked lots of ideas in my mind.
That's the great thing about this event, is just bringing brands, retailers, ad tech agencies together all under one roof to have good, honest and open conversations, which is great. You mentioned Dan's session, which I also observed and thought was brilliant. Any comments from you on that at all?
No, I think one of the biggest takeaways is this, and Jamie mentioned it, the need for brands, retailers, tech providers, agencies to come together and collaborate. I think there's still a lot of shared learnings and understanding that needs to happen between these two worlds of retail and media and how they come together. So the biggest takeaway for me was the need for education and continuous conversations, that we've got a common understanding, and that'll help move us forward. And this event's a great starting point for that.
Absolutely. And we can all win at this on all sides, right?
Yeah.
If we get that mutual understanding. So I want to come to you, Jamie. So why did Cotswold Outdoor set up a retail media network in the first place?
Yeah, I mean, I think I can take responsibility for the idea. I have to manage the outcome over the next couple of years, but I think for me, the retail media journey started a number of years ago. I mean, I've always been interested in terms of what is more broadly happening in the sector. And, I think the bigger sort of, supermarket businesses have been, I think tech has changed it, but in retail media has been there in some form or another. And, we've always had that balance between trade marketing and, advertising spend and how you cut your media as a retailer. I worked for a big department store in Canada previously, and they had a big retail media team. So that gave me some really good exposure in terms of the opportunity. And I think when I came to Cotswold, I mean, Cotswold Outdoor, we've got 3 fascias, Snow and Rock Runners Need and Cotswold Outdoor, but we are in effect like a mini department store for the outdoors. We sell a combination of private label, but predominantly branded products. And I think my initial view of the business when I walked around the stores and, also looked at our website and how our customers are interacting with us is there just wasn't much engagement. There wasn't as much theatre in store as I thought there could be an opportunity for. And with technology improving so much, it felt like retail media was a good way to try and get to solve that problem. And if you start with a customer and work back, you usually find the right result. So, the retail media gives us the opportunity to create more customer touch points, to try and solve some of those customer problems. So when they're engaging with us on on our website or in our stores, they're getting more product information. They're getting more, getting more excited about product rather than actually putting product on a website or product on a rack. So I think that was one of the main drivers in terms of how we create more engagement in stores.
I love that angle around providing value for the customers. And I was actually speaking to one of your colleagues about it. Dan, shout out to Lisa. By the way, we were just talking about your audience and also that in-store dynamic as well. And I know with the kind of ski gear, for example, you could be in the store for 1 or 2 hours while you're kind of getting fitted for stuff. And that for me is just like an amazing opportunity to be able to serve rich media to these customers for, brands that are relevant to them and their lifestyles, right?
Yeah. So whether it's ski boots, running shoes, or walking shoes, there's a serious dwell time in our store and lots of engagement. So there's an opportunity to talk to customers from an advertising point of view, to educate them, to engage with them. So there's a customer point of view, which is super important. But then if you think about the partners that we deal with, whether it's Rab or North Face or Patagonia or Salomon or Oakley, and a lot of these brands are just dying to get closer to the customer. They have limited physical presence in the UK. We have over 75 stores. So you want a customer who wants to be more engaged with and more product knowledge. You've got brands and partners who want to be more in front of consumers. So there's a problem there to be solved, which is beneficial for our customers, which is beneficial for our suppliers and partners. And then if you think about it from a retailer point of view, we're trying to just evolve our business model. So instead of just being an omnichannel retailer, we become a media house where we can help to solve those problems. Yes, we want to sell more, but also how do we start to get an incremental revenue stream that comes into our business that helps us to be a more sustainable retailer from a financial point of view, but it also solves a customer problem and it solves a partner problem. So I think why it's important for us is really to solve those three problems, and then to sort of cut the middleman out from a media point of view and actually monetize our assets, because running a retailer is really expensive. To open shops, to invest in shops, to continue to renovate them, and it's only going to get harder. So the financial reason is a good bolster to help those store P&L, so we can continue to reinvest so they don't get stale, and we can create that engaging environment for customers and solve the issue for brands to get closer and sell more of their products.
Amazing. Love that. And I'm gonna focus in on the omni-channel angle. And I'm going to come to you on this, Dan, because I believe that the Cotswold Outdoor story on retail media they went omni-channel from the get-go. And, we had a presentation earlier from Drew Cashmore where he was talking about a lot of European retailers have actually done the hard work first. And, done the in-store piece, done some experiential stuff. Whereas, the digital first was always about sponsored products and sponsored ads and getting that right first. Dan, from Zitcha's perspective, what advantages does the omnichannel approach bring, compared to taking a more, incremental step-by-step approach?
I think there's multiple advantages to it. I think the obvious one from a retailer perspective is it's obviously if you go omnichannel, you've got more inventory, you can cover the entire funnel, which opens up more budget. So you've got the opportunity for a steeper revenue growth line, right, within your retail media. So from a revenue perspective, great. But also, as Jamie alluded to, it's not just about the revenue, it's about the customer and it's about the partners. And customer experience, if you're going single channel, is not as comprehensive and doesn't deliver the best experiences if you go omnichannel from the offset. But also from a brand perspective, brands are looking for omnichannel. Like if I think about the networks that Zitcha powers from a technology perspective and the revenue that goes through our platform, like 45% of the campaigns are omnichannel. So we know the brands expect omnichannel. And I think for retailers that are starting now in the context of retail media in 2025 is that brand expectation is omnichannel, so deliver. But also we heard from Daniel earlier that Daniel Knapp, that there's over 100 retail media networks in Europe. So if you're launching a retail media network now, you need to stand out.
143.
Yeah, 143.
Like EMEA.
Well remembered. Yeah, so if you've got 143 media networks, you need to stand out. And going single channel doesn't make you stand out and become as attractive. So I think there's certainly the element of brands expect it delivers a better customer experience and it's good for revenue. But also I think when we talk about omnichannel, incremental approach is important, right? Retailers don't have the capacity to do everything all at once. So I think you still can be quite strategic about how you launch omnichannel. So if we think in-store, where's the biggest impact? Maybe it's digital screens, but that requires some CapEx. If we think about off-site, well, actually, Meta is the best channel in terms of that's where most of the media spend goes through, and that's where it can have an impact. And then on-site, we know that the majority of revenue goes through sponsored products still within retail media. So I think you can go omni-channel, but be quite strategic about the ones that you pick.
great answer. And I think that strategic piece, very, very important. I'll come back to you, Jamie. So it was your idea, and you're the CEO, and it's very, very exciting. But building something like this from scratch is no small feat. So what were the biggest challenges that you faced in the early stages of getting things set up?
Yeah, I think probably education, both internally and externally. So, retail media is a fast evolving, concept and industry, probably a little bit slower moving, I think, on the apparel side. So explaining that concept, I started internally with obviously, with the team at Cotswold to explain the concept. Very quickly you get a level of excitement once they start to get their heads around it and see the benefit. And there was I was lucky to have some people that walked the journey in other businesses before, so there was a good groundswell of enthusiasm within the team. And then you've got your other stakeholders, your board, etc. And you have to take everyone on a journey in terms of the financial upside for the business, but also more from the sort of how broadly do you manage your brand relationships and your media relationships in a different way. So, but everyone I've spoken to, sometimes the conversations would, take 2 or 3 goes, but you'd get a really good level of support. And so then, we take those conversations. So once we agreed funding internally, we then took those conversations, across our broader business to all of our, store managers and all of our team members. And generally, we got a good level of enthusiasm in terms of what, how we could start to transform the business. And what we've also done internally is we've set up a media business within our business, and we're treating this as a startup business. So we're not just treating this as a bolt-on or an add-on. We're treating this as a new business and trying to get some real energy and enthusiasm behind that. And then I think on the supplier side, we're walking a journey with our suppliers, and I think what we're working through now is that tension between trade marketing and incremental spend, and then what does that mean? And I think the approach that we're trying to land, and we're doing it in a couple of ways. So we've run into the omnichannel approach. So we've got our tech developments we're about to go live. We've got digital screens that have been invested in our major city centre stores, but we sprinted into making a new store of the future concept. So we launched a store in Maryhill, and we launched a store very close to our office in South Cerney with the full omnichannel capability. And what we've been doing is we're inviting our strategic partners to these stores and walking them around and getting them to experience the touch points that they can have with their consumers. And it's at that point when you show them the physical concept that the penny drops and the mind and the conversation changes. So now the conversation that we're having our partners is more around, forget about trade marketing spend, but think about an investment in media spend between Cotswold Outdoor, Runners Need and Snow and Rock. And I think we're trying to take the conversation now away to, thinking about a fixed amount of money that was spent in the past. And one of the frustrations from a lot of our suppliers and brands has been, well, we had a trade marketing agreement with you. We're not really sure what the ROI was, and it almost gets perceived as a bit of a tax. I think the investment in the Zitcha platform allows us to give much more granular ROI information, so we can take that base level spend and give our brands and partners really good ROI and really target where they'll future spend their money. And then with the investments that you're making, try and drive incrementality to say, well, what are you trying to achieve in terms of your objective, either from brand messaging, more upper funnel messaging, or specific trade marketing in terms of I want to sell this waterproof jacket or this hiking shoe, and actually trying to look at more of a holistic approach to solve their marketing objectives in the UK market. So I think that's the journey that we're going on. I think it's year 1 of that journey, but we're having some very positive reactions from our brand partners in terms of how we might think differently around marketing their business at Cotswold Outdoor Group.
Amazing. I wish you all the best on that omnichannel journey. I think one quick thing before we wrap up. In 3 words, can you sum up the Retail Media Impact Summit? I'll go with you first, Dan.
Collaborative, educational, And energizing. I think leaving here feeling enthused about the future of retail media for sure.
Love that. Jamie?
Yeah, collaborative is a good one. Yeah, the energy levels are good. So energy, I don't want to repeat your words, Dan, but I think thought-provoking and future thinking.
Future thinking. Love that. And we'll leave it there. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
Jason.
Cheers, Jason.